Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to chapters 5 and 6 of Race to the Ark. Remember that Peter and Mary and Hank the dog are on another adventure back in time. And it has to do with Noah's Ark. Remember Jakar and Darfus and Shadow? They're the bad guys right now. So previously in chapter 4, Peter and Mary kept running until they were out of sight. Mary wiped the dust from her eyes and said, "Oh, that was close." "Hey, good karate kick back there," said Peter. Mary winked at him. "Good idea to use the hatchet." "Ruff!" barked Hank. Peter looked up the hill and saw Hank standing at the edge of the woods, and someone was with him. Remember I asked you who you thought it was? "Who's that?" asked Mary. Peter wiped his face with his sleeve. "I can't tell with the dust in my eyes. Let's find out." Chapter 5, Into the Woods. Peter led the way up the hill toward Hank. He wondered who was with him. He hoped it wasn't one of the mean people in the city. "I'm tired and thirsty," said Mary. She stopped and sat down on the grassy hillside. Peter squinted toward the hill. "It's Michael!" The angel spread his mighty wings and flew down to meet them. "It's so good to see you." Mary put her hands on her hips. Peter knew what was coming. "But where have you been?" "Yeah, we were in big trouble down here," Peter said, "and you didn't even help." "I did help," said Michael. "Who do you think slammed the gate shut?" Peter's face got red and he looked down. "Oh," he said. "Thanks." "God also helped you," said Michael. "How?" asked Mary. Michael pointed into the air. "Where do you think all this wind comes from?" "I didn't really think about it," said Mary. "I thought we were alone. Remember, God is always with you," said Michael. "I'll try," said Mary. At least Peter wasn't the only one who was embarrassed. Michael looked around and narrowed his eyes. That's like making them small. "Let's go into the woods. It is not safe out here." They joined Hank at the edge of the woods. "Let us find a safe place to talk," said Michael. Hank barked and ran ahead. "Wait!" Peter chased him into the woods. The dog wove in and out of the trees so fast Peter couldn't catch him. He didn't stop when Peter called him. "Woof, woof, woof!" Peter ran in the direction of the barks. He found Hank next to a river, wagging his tail. "Good boy, Hank." Peter took the canteen out of the bag and filled it with the fresh, clean water. He gulped it down, and Mary and Michael arrived just as he was refilling the canteen. "Water!" shouted Mary, and she grabbed the canteen and took a big gulp. "This looks like a good place to stop," said Michael. Peter and Mary sat down on a fallen tree and passed the canteen back and forth. "Now, let us go over the rules of your adventure." There are rules, remember? Michael held up one finger. First rule: you have to solve the secret of the scroll in 7 days, or you'll be stuck here. Peter took the scroll out of the bag. "We definitely don't want that." Mary crossed her arms. "This place is so bad. Remember how mean people were? The woman at the fruit stand, and Jakar and Darfus, and even the wolf Shadow." Michael reached under his wings and pulled out a long sword as bright as the sun. "The world has become a very dangerous place." Peter wished he had a sword like that. Jakar wouldn't bother them anymore. "Where are we?" asked Mary. "You will find out soon," said Michael. "What's the next rule?" asked Mary. Michael held up 2 fingers. Rule number 2, you cannot tell anyone where you came from or that you are from the future. Peter almost told some kids in the city, said Mary. But I didn't. Peter gritted his teeth. Why did she always tell on him? Mary took another drink. Any more rules? Michael held up 3 fingers. The 3rd rule, you cannot try to change the past. Now, let us look at the scroll. Peter unrolled it, revealing its strange symbols and letters. He turned it upside down and sideways. I can't read it. Mary grabbed it. Let me try. She stared for a while. It looks like it has 6 words. That is right, said Michael. 6 words that are written in Hebrew. You have 7 days to solve it. Peter noticed the sky getting dark. The sun setting behind the trees made them look spooky. Make that 6 days, said Michael. Peter said, but there's twice as many words as the last scroll. The last scroll had 3 words. God created everything. This time, the scroll has 6 words they have to figure out in the 6 remaining days. Yes, you are right, said Michael. Now, it is getting dark, and I must go and find the enemy, Satan. He is causing much trouble. Michael spread his mighty wings. Wait, said Mary. Shouldn't you stay and protect us? Remember, God is always with you. Michael flapped his wings and shot into the air like a lightning bolt. Ruff! Barked Hank. Mary twisted her hair around her fingers. Peter could tell she was scared. What do we do now? She said. Well, I guess we sleep here, said Peter. Mary shivered, but it is getting so cold and dark. Peter pulled everything out of the bag. Well, we can use the things Great Uncle Solomon packed to build a camp. Good idea, said Mary. Raise your hand if you've done any camping and have had to watch or help put up a tent. Good idea, said Mary. Peter grinned. Yeah, 2 good ideas in one day. I think that's your new record. Mary seemed to be cheering up again. Peter pulled out the pop-up tent. He set it on the ground and grabbed the rope. Stand back! Pop! Boing! Whoosh! The tent popped up and they climbed in. It was the perfect size for 2 kids and a dog. What if Jakar and Shadow trying to find us tonight? Peter's stomach rumbled. He wasn't sure if he was hungry or nervous. Maybe he's a little bit of both. We can't worry about it. Remember, God will take care of us, said Mary. Just then a glow came from inside the leather bag. The scroll! Peter pulled it out and unrolled it. The 2nd word of the secret message sparkled and transformed into the word God. We solved our 1st word. Mary tossed her head. Don't you mean I solved it? You might have solved the 1st word, said Peter, but we still have 5 to go. Mary rolled over on her side and Hank curled up near the entrance of the tent. Peter took out the flashlight and turned it on. What are you doing? Said Mary. I'm trying to sleep. Peter took out Great Uncle Solomon's adventure journal. I want to write something down. Day 1, and this is what Peter wrote. This place is dangerous. All of the people are so mean. I wonder what is inside the temple of the snake. I built a tent, and I hope it doesn't fall on us, and I also hope Jakar and Shadow don't find us. Crack! Mary moved closer to Peter. What was that noise? Growled Hank. Peter grabbed Hank. Shh! Turn off the flashlight, whispered Mary. Chapter 6. Paw prints everywhere. The tent was dark. Peter, Mary, and Hank didn't make a sound. Crack! There it is again, whispered Peter. Shh! What if it's Jakar and Shadow? Whispered Peter. Be quiet, or they might find us, Mary whispered back. Snap, squish, thump, snap, squish, thump. The sounds got louder outside the tent. Snap, squish, thump! If it's Jakar, said Peter, I think he brought an army with him. Thud! The ground rumbled and shook. Mary's eyes opened wide. Something huge is coming. Maybe it's Darfus, said Peter. No, said Mary, bigger. Bigger than Darfus? Said Peter. Thud, thud. Yes, said Mary, much bigger. But everything was completely quiet. What was it? Said Peter. I don't know, said Mary, but I hope it doesn't come back. Peter was surprised that Mary and Hank could fall asleep. Hank was even snoring. Peter lay awake for a long time, listening for any noises he was sure he would never fall asleep. But the next thing Peter knew, light was shining on his face. He sat up and rubbed his eyes. The light was streaming through the crack in the tent flap. Mary yawned and she stretched. Is it already morning? Yes, let's go see what happened last night, said Peter. Do you think it's safe? Said Mary. Peter slowly poked his head out of the tent. I think so. I don't see anything scary. Hank ran out and sniffed all around. Ruff, ruff. Peter grabbed the leather bag and ran over to see what Hank had found. Look at all the paw prints. There must be thousands. Mary came up behind him. Well, these prints are from a bear. She looked to the right, and it looks like there were 2 bears. Peter ran to the other side of the tent. Look at these prints. They're huge. Mary put her hand inside one of them. Oh, this is from an elephant. And those prints, they're from a horse, she said. And those are from a camel. How do you know so much about paw prints? Asked Peter. Well, I read a book called Know Your Paws, A Complete Guide to the Animal Kingdom. Your reading is paying off, said Peter. I want to be ready for anything, said Mary. Peter looked ahead. It looks like the prints go that way. Mary took out the compass. They're going west. Peter quickly packed everything back into the bag. Let's go, he said. They followed the trail of prints and came to an open field covered with tree trunks. Who cut down all these trees? Asked Mary. I think I know. Peter pointed to the top of the hill. That's one huge boat. Woof, woof. Peter turned around to see what Hank was barking at this time. 2 tall giraffes came out of the woods. They walked past Peter and headed up the hill toward the huge wooden boat. Thud, thud. 2 rhinos crashed through the woods. Squeak, squeak. 2 mice ran between Mary's feet. Mary screamed and ran behind a tree. So this is what the artist thinks it might have looked like to Peter and Mary. There are lots of pictures of what it might have looked like on the internet if you're just curious. It's good to be curious. Peter shook his head. I can't believe you're afraid of mice, but not rhinos. Mary slowly came from behind the tree. Hank barked at all the animals and made sure they stayed on the trail. Peter was proud. After all, Hank was a herding dog. That means Hank was a dog that used to herd like sheep or cattle. Peter had just never seen him in action before. Look at those poor little turtles, said Mary. The little shelled guys were falling behind the other animals. I don't think they will ever make it, said Peter. He picked them up, and just then the bag glowed. Peter unzipped it and unrolled the scroll. The 4th word glowed, and transformed into will. So we have blank, God, blank, will, blank, blank. I solved one! Peter did a happy dance. 2 down, said Mary, and 4 to go. Woof, woof. Peter looked up and saw a man with a long brown beard walking down the hill. He looked about the same age as their dad. Who do we have here? Said the man. Peter quickly rolled up the scroll and hid it in the bag. My name is Peter, and I'm Mary. She didn't seem worried at all. It was almost like she knew who he was. Think you know? Ruff. And this is Hank, said Peter. My name is Shem, said the man. Mary leaned over and whispered in Peter's ear, I knew it was him. How? Peter whispered back. Maybe you should read your Bible. Shem pointed at all the animals walking up the hill. Did you bring all of these? No, said Mary. We're hiding from Jakar and Shadow. Shem's face darkened as he nodded. I understand. You stay away from them, and you can stay with us, and we will keep you safe. Follow me, said Shem. Thanks, said Mary. They walked toward the big boat. Animals were everywhere. Well, they all started showing up last night, Shem said. We heard, said Peter. Where are you from? Asked Shem. We are from the... Mary kicked Peter in the shin again, and Peter rubbed his leg again. Mary gave Peter another look. Peter was surprised her face didn't get stuck that way. We are far away. Well, welcome to the Ark, said Shem. It's one huge boat, said Peter. Oh, do not call it a boat in front of my dad, said Shem. He wants everyone to call it the Ark. Okay, said Peter. It's one huge ark. They arrived at the top of the hill. Peter was out of breath and ready to eat. Peter ran beside the ark. Oh, it is almost 2 football fields long. Shem tilted his head. What is football? It's a game where we came from, said Peter. Well, you will have to teach me, said Shem. It gets boring up here building the ark. How long have you been working on it? Asked Mary. Shem counted his fingers several times. About 100 years. Peter's jaw dropped. You don't look 100 years old. Thanks, said Shem. If you think I am old, wait until you meet my parents. Well, how old are they? Said Shem. But they're 600, said Shem. But they're in great shape. And I'm sure they're around here somewhere. He looked around and shrugged. Do you want a tour of the ark? Said Shem. Sure, said Peter. He hoped food would be involved. Well, boys and girls, I brought something new and unusual, but probably something you're used to seeing, and it's a whiteboard. And we knew that the second word was what? Yes, that's right, it was God. And what was the fourth word? The fourth word? Will. Okay, thank you. Will. So the fourth word is will. So, we have the first 2, and I bet some of you are already guessing and trying to fill in what God would say about this ark and this second scroll. So we will probably add to this as we read through the book. Also, I found this. There's lots of them online, of course, but I found this picture of an ark to color if you're interested. This will be on our church's website so that you can print it at home, or you can just go online and Google printable coloring pages of Noah's Ark and get all different kinds. This will be available to all of you if you're interested. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to reading to you next week too. Have a safe weekend. Be kind and know that God will take care of you and me and all of us. Bye for now.